huge experience, a lot of achievement here. So, Mr. 𝐂𝐚𝐻, thank you for being with us today. It's really a privilege to have you on this panel. So my question to you is, what are the monetary policy implications of Mauritius becoming a renminbi trading platform?
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you. Today is indeed a special day for me. It's no joke, it's a special day for me. It's my wedding anniversary.
Wow.
The thing is, this morning, I forgot to wish my wife happy wedding anniversary. I tried to make amends during the day. I gave her a phone call on the landline and another one on her mobile. There was no answer. So I'm wondering now, how will I go home this afternoon? So the question is, and well, this is not the first time we are having such an event. We had one before, and the last time I was the moderator. I was setting the questions. Today, my twist of fate, I am answering the questions. Well, the question is, what are the monetary policy implications for Mauritius in having a renminbi hub? The implications are not, I would say, severe or has an impact really on monetary policy. Mm-hmm. The reason being that monetary policy is about price stability. Is about maintaining the value of the rupee. Well, the Bank of Mauritius has instruments, well-defined instruments to carry out monetary policy. It issues 91-day bills, it issues 181-day bills, it issues 364-day bills, it mops up liquidity. It has come up now with a novel instrument, which is the 7-day bill to mop up liquidity. And as from the 1st of January, we are going to have a new monetary policy framework altogether. This is one aspect of monetary policy. The second aspect, as all of you know, because it has an impact on your pockets, is the rising or diminishing of the key repo rate. When it goes up, savings goes up, and when savings goes up, your loans also become more expensive. So as you can see, the renminbi hub and monetary policy are different issues. But if the renminbi hub becomes prominent, it becomes it starts to take momentum, it will certainly have spillover effects on financial sector prosperity and the growth the growth of the economy in general. Well, as the ambassador, the Chinese ambassador, His Excellency the Chinese ambassador said, the Bank of Mauritius has appointed the Bank of China as the renminbi clearing center for Mauritius. Well, people perhaps who don't know, but there were other banks which were interested, but the Bank of Mauritius opted for the Bank of China, which we think was the natural choice. The Bank of China has its head office in China. It has branches all over the world. So it definitely, for us, stood in a position to solve problems with regard to the renminbi, facilitate development of the renminbi, and something we wanted to achieve. Now, we should not forget that the Bank of China, its head office, of which his bank is a branch, is the fourth biggest bank in the world in terms of assets. So we think the Bank of Mauritius thinks that it has not made the wrong choice. You would agree with me. And also it is undeniable nowadays that China is the second largest economy in the world after the United States of America. This is also undeniable. With this background, I can very well say that the renminbi is poised to become a very important currency in the world in the days to come. The IMF, the quota of the renminbi in the SDR basket of the IMF has rose to about 14% in 2022. People, you would know about the SWIFT. The SWIFT is an instrument which makes payments all around the world. In 2021, the SWIFT said that China is the sixth most important payment system in the world. The currency is the sixth most used currency in the world. This is what the SWIFT says. And the BIS, you know, is the banks of, is the central bank of central bank. The BIS has said that China, the renminbi, is the most important currency for emerging markets. Well, the moderator said that we have two renminbi clearing centers in Africa. We have two renminbi clearing centers in mainland Africa. We must make a distinction between mainland Africa and Mauritius. While we form part of Africa, we do not form part of mainland Africa. So we have two centers in mainland Africa, one in Joburg and the other one in Zambia.
Yeah.
I understand that Kenya was competing, but in the end, we will be the third African country which will be a clearing center for renminbi. The reason why I made a distinction between mainland Africa and Mauritius is key, ladies and gentlemen. It is key because of our geographical position. We stand here as a country between China and Africa, between other countries and Africa. We stand in a position where we can travel around the world digitally. Now, Mauritius also has an important payment infrastructure. We are a member of the SADC RTGS. We are member of the COMESA reps. In fact, the Bank of Mauritius is the settlement bank for the COMESA reps. We have also the PAPS, which is a regional payment system of Africa. So where we stand, we have all the necessary prerequisites to become a hub for the clearing of the renminbi. Well, we have other factors as well.
Mm-hmm.
We are well positioned. We have a time zone which is conducive to the making of payments. These are a few, I'll say, among others. Now, what is required? What is required is to make this clearing center a success. And on this, every Mauritian must make an effort. And in particular, the Bank of China.
Yeah.
I had a chat with the CEO of the Bank of China, and he told me that they are going to engage with, they have already been receiving requests from Africa to start the clearing through the Bank of China. This is indeed encouraging, even before it has started.
Yeah. FDG.
Yes.
I'll come with a second question to you. Let me proceed to the next speakers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Great.
Thank you. I would like to thank you, by the way, for highlighting the two training centers in Zambia and not Nigeria. And I would like to now introduce our second speaker, Mr. Daniel 𝐂𝐡𝑢𝐳, Chief Executive Officer of the Mauritius Bankers Association. He also currently serves on the Council of Business Mauritius and the Mauritius Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Board of Global Finance Mauritius. And so, Daniel, what are the advantages and risks to becoming a renminbi trading hub, especially linking China to Africa?
Thank you very much. There are two areas of interest in this for banks, and then I'll come to the answer to the question. One is for the domestic market, and the other one is what we call the global business, which is cross-border flows going through Mauritius. And in both cases, the presence of this new facility is of considerable interest. When we talk about the domestic market first, so this is really the rupee business, anything to do with the local market, a very large proportion of the imports in Mauritius come from China. But today, most of our imports business is Mauritian rupee to USD, USD to RMB in another country. Whereas today, having this facility here means that actually it will be much easier and hopefully much cheaper for importers, for example, to start using the center and reduce their FX cost. They may be able to keep balances in RMB, and they may start trading directly in RMB, just like they would have dollar balances today. So this is a huge change in Mauritius already in the mindset, rather moving away from being a predominantly dollar economy to diversifying this. And this takes us to the second side, which is the cross-border side. The entire purpose of an IFC is to be well connected. And there's a lot of things happening in the payments space. Really, things are being democratized, and all sorts of new types of technologies are coming up, new fintechs, new cross-border payments. And just as Mr. 𝐂𝐚𝐮𝐻 was saying a few minutes ago, Mauritius is already and has always been part of regional initiatives with parts of Africa, etc. More recently, the central bank welcomed the 𝗂𝗶𝘀𝗿 initiative for India, and now this is there. The idea is to link up different payment systems with different financial systems so that Mauritius is really at the heart of this web of payment systems. And this means that now cross-border flows could go through Mauritius through this, and this is the regional dimension that we're talking about. So what are the advantages? I think for the domestic market, we've talked about it, it could lead to ease of payment. In fact, I have to say during COVID, when there was tightness on the foreign exchange market, I think this was clear because we didn't have any tourists, a number of banks used their RMB lines to facilitate trades between Mauritius, found a currency swap, and then from that other currency through RMB, but we didn't have that in Mauritius. It was expensive for them. So this will all become much simpler if we have our own RMB clearing center. This is very good news, I think, from a ease of making payments perspective. From a global connectivity perspective, I think it's even more interesting because we are very fortunate to be considered one of the pearls in the Chinese strategy for string of pearls, and given the huge flows, as you were pointing out in your introductory remarks, between China and a lot of countries in Africa, and also China regionally, the presence of Mauritius as a regional hub, having this jewel in the crown, having this facility means that RMB payments can go around and increase the volume of payments. And that's how an IFC gains in importance, that payments go through it, and it facilitates and intermediates these. So we see great advantages to this. The challenges, I believe, are more for the operator of the clearing center. It will have the challenges of monitoring new payment flows, the AML, CFT, etc. And then, of course, banks will have to monitor their exposures to different currencies, but this is part of what everybody does. So I think from our perspective, we very much welcome this presence. We're delighted that, in fact, Bank of China has become a member of the Mauritius Bankers Association. We're delighted to count us as a member, and we look forward to this close collaboration with the Bank of China.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel 𝐴𝑠𝑢. Certainly, one major take out of your what you said is that it will certainly make transactions cheaper and easier for the RMB clearing hub in Mauritius. My third speaker is Mr. Li Lianhong, the Chief Executive Officer of Bank of China in Mauritius. Mr. Li has spent over 28 years with the Bank of China and has previously represented the Bank of China in Mexico, and is tasked to launching the RMB clearing center in Mauritius. Mr. Li, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. And the main question that I have for you is that the Bank of China manages other clearing hubs, not just in other parts of the world as well, in other countries. And how do you envisage to encourage businesses from Mauritius, China, and Africa to make use of the RMB clearing platform in Mauritius?
Okay, thank you to the moderator. And also, I want to take this opportunity to thank the Chinese Embassy and the EDB for giving me this opportunity to participate in this wonderful event. That's a good question, but not easy to answer. I try to answer the question in two parts. Firstly, as we know, statistics show that China is the largest source of import of Mauritius. Nearly 18% of the imports of Mauritius originated from China in 2021. Mm-hmm. The forthcoming launch of the RMB Clearing Center, I think, is timely, so that the local importers can request their Chinese suppliers to invoice them in RMB, and the local banks can make use of the local RMB Clearing Center for their international settlement. In this area, I think all local banks should cooperate in this process from the national perspective, not from the business perspective. It would be better to route all their RMB settlement through the local RMB Clearing Center. And that as a contribution all the banks should make to the country. I think all banks owe this to the country. Secondly, it's also acknowledged that African countries have deep trade relations with China. In fact, China is Africa's largest trading partner for the past 10 years, with trade between China and Africa rising to a record high of $254 billion in last year. Assuming 3% of the trade is conducted in RMB, this represents a market of nearly 8 billion. 3% is a reasonable standard according to SWIFT. International payment in RMB accounted for 2.7% of our currency in 2021, making RMB the first largest payment currency in the world. In this data, a little different between FDG and but the data I come from the SWIFT statistics. Yeah. And also the share of RMB payment has continuously increased, and in January of this year, it reached 3.2% of all currency. So if we dig down further, we can find Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, Ghana, and Kenya were the African countries that traded most with China in the last year. So this country are the marketing targets of the RMB clearing in the next step. So coming back to the use of the RMB Clearing Center by our African counterparts, it's important we look at the broader picture. As FD just mentioned, Bank of China Johannesburg and the Bank of China Zambia are already providing these services on the continent. Now we are entering this segment, and it will take time for us to tap this market. My opinion is that we should not market the RMB clearing services of Mauritius in isolation, as I don't think it will attract much more interest. Rather, we should do some intense and targeted marketing on the continent about the Mauritius jurisdiction. Mauritius is now highly regarded on the continent, as it has exited the 𝗖𝗲𝗿𝗃 so quickly. So we should sell this to the continent along with the continuous improvement in compliance with other international standards and the constant expansion of the suite of products that we can provide in Mauritius. in my view, this is the right way forward. And I know EDB has done a lot of in this area. And also, I think EDB will continue to play an important role in the promotion of the Mauritius jurisdiction in African continent, especially in the promotion of RMB Clearing Center. And also Bank of China Mauritius will make every effort to assist relevant parties in this process. So to conclude, I would mention again, RMB Clearing Center, I think, is not only a business, but also a contribution that we should make to facilitate RMB usage in the cross-border transaction and bring trade, investment, and economic cooperation between China, Mauritius, and also Africa to a new level. I believe RMB Clearing Center would further enhance Mauritius itself and strengthen Mauritius' positioning in the regional and international affair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Right, so this is fascinating. Of course, when it comes to promotion, we will certainly be doing that, working together to promote and building on the success of Mauritius, getting out of the 𝗵𝗲𝗿 list in record times, 18 months. Not just that, the most recent audit, Mauritius is only the 6th country in the world that has scored 40 out of 40 in all the requirements of the 𝐵𝐴𝑇𝐼. So, you know, so which is like excelling and becoming like one of the most prominent countries when it comes to meeting the requirements as per the 𝐵𝐴𝑇𝐼 Financial Action Task Force. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that, and certainly looking forward to work together in promoting the RMB clearing platform or center in Mauritius, FTG. The agreement has been signed with the People's Bank of China already and the Bank of Mauritius. When can we expect the RMB clearing center to be operational in Mauritius?
Well, we wanted to cut the ribbon a few days back, but unfortunately, is it not? But it cannot operate only with the Bank of China. We needed all banks on board. We needed all banks on board. So as of today, we have there are some formalities which need to be done with the Bank of China. They have to do the due diligence with the banks in Mauritius, and there is a contract which needs to be signed between the commercial banks and the Bank of China. This is in process. Once this would be over, we will inaugurate the platform.
And I'm sure Mr. 𝐂𝐡𝐢 is helping in the process. Yeah. Okay.
And also, I take this opportunity to thank FTG and BOM to push forward the process.
Yeah.
And at this time, almost much more local banks has signed the contract and gave us the document to the open the account.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Before I open the floor to the audience for questions, which I hope will get questions, I would like to also acknowledge the presence of Mr. Samad Jaman, the Chief Executive Officer of Mauritius Finance. And Samad, I know this is something that is very close to you and the job that you do on a daily basis promoting the Mauritius IFC. Do you have any comments or any question that you would like to put forward to the panel? Mike.
Thank you, Vinay, and thank you for putting me on the spot. I was expecting to ask any question, but thank you, the panelists, for shedding some light on what's going to happen on the RMB clearing center in Mauritius. I'm being asked this question quite often by the members of Mauritius Finance who are operators in the industry. More from a cross-border structuring, how do you envisage the development of the RMB clearing center in actually enhancing the positioning of Mauritius for the outward investment from China into Africa? And has there been an interest as it stands today for funding going from China into Africa? And how can this 𝐴𝑚 Center enhance the value offering and the value proposition for Mauritius as an IFC?
Mr. Lee?
So long, I cannot remember. You can summarize your question?
It's a simple question. How can the RMB 𝐴𝑚 Center in Mauritius will facilitate investment from China into Africa?
I think as a support to the BRI initiatives, right?
Okay, thank you. I think 𝐼𝐴𝑚 𝐭𝐢𝐮𝐬 Center injected new impulse into the China-Mauritius economic and trade cooperation. Mauritius can share the Chinese market with a population of 1.4 billion. And this will benefit Mauritius' economic, post-epidemic economic recovery and the economic transformation. And also, with the introduction of the 𝐼𝐴𝑚 𝐭𝐢𝐮𝐬 Center, Mauritius become a bridge and a hub, can link the Chinese with Africa. Mauritius has a very stable political and social environment and peaceful society and well-development financial services. And I think it has a potential and the ability to become a bridge for the economic and trade cooperation between Africa and China, and even African and Asia. So the 𝐼𝐴𝑚 𝐭𝐢𝐮𝐬 Center, which will facilitate the usage of the cross-border transaction, and we promote more Chinese products, services, and investment to the African continent. So at this point, it will stimulate the economic development, the potential of Mauritius, enhance the competitiveness of Mauritius in the global industry chain. And then, so I think in a lot of areas, the 𝐼𝐴𝑚 𝐭𝐢𝐮𝐬 Center can help Mauritius to development and improve the economic resilience. Okay. I don't know I answer your question or not.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lee. I think that is there. I mean, the answer is there. And on top of that, we know that with the Belt and Road initiatives, there will be a lot of vertical integration in China to secure supply of materials and also value addition within the continent. And we believe that RMB clearing platform will help secure more transactions between the continent and China as well. And also what the ambassador said earlier, it's about taking the free trade agreement to the next level and doing more value addition within the Mauritian jurisdiction, where the RMB clearing platform will certainly facilitate exportation to China from Mauritius, but at the same time in terms of accessing commodities on the African continent as well. So I think that's a little bit of where we are. Yes, Mr. Kwan, you have a question? Well, the floor is open for questions, so please raise your hand and we'll send the mic to you.
Yeah, it's very good that you mentioned the BRI, and the ambassador also highlighted the new initiative, the GDI, whereas the BRI laid a lot of emphasis on infrastructure projects. So the GDI is moving towards the green economy, the blue economy, and also the digital economy. So there was a presentation by Huawei on digital transformation. I was wondering whether in the future, because we have to get the RMB hub going first, but in the future, whether we can factor digital currency as part of the R&B hub roadmap.
Well, as you are all aware, China has already rolled its digital currency in renminbi. Mauritius, we are going to roll it on a pilot basis by December this year. If both those two projects materialize, there is no objection, as I see it, for trade to be conducted in both digital currencies.
Wow, it's fascinating. Thank you. Thank you for this really challenging question, but thank you, FDG, for answering that. Any other question? Anybody wants to? Please feel free, ask the question. This is your chance. Otherwise, you'll have to, work hard to get a meeting with the FDG or the CEO of the Bank of China. So that's your chance to ask the question now. Yeah. Well, if we don't have question, we'll sum up and then early release for you to go for the cocktail. I would like to thank the panelists, FDG. Thank you so much, Mr. Lee. It's a pleasure to have you, and thank you for participating. And Daniel, as usual, it's a pleasure to have you here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hand together to thank the panel. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here with us today. We have come to the end of this event afternoon together to talk a little bit about the FTA, about where we're going, but also to give you an understanding on how to onboard your employees from other countries, and also how to, what are the processes